They mocked her clothes, denied her entry, laughed behind her back, until she pulled out a document that left the entire office in stunned silence. It was a typical Monday morning in downtown Seattle. The lobby of the sleek Maple Ridge corporate tower buzzed with people in sharp suits, double-shot espressos in hand, and AirPods in their ears. The security guard barely looked up as the elevator dinged for the 10th time in 5 minutes. Then came a slow, careful shuffle of footsteps. An elderly woman, dressed in a simple wool sweater, faded jeans, and worn-out sneakers, stepped through the revolving doors, holding a folded paper in her hand and a puzzled look on her face. She smiled kindly at the receptionist. "Good morning, dear. I'm looking for Suite 21C. The receptionist barely glanced at her. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but..." "Then I'm sorry, ma'am. This is a secure building. Tenants only." The security guard joined in. "Ma'am, maybe you're looking for the clinic across the street." The woman stood quietly, still smiling. "No, I'm pretty sure it's here." A young intern standing nearby snorted. "Somebody's lost." A few people chuckled. The receptionist leaned closer and said softly, "Look, ma'am, these offices are private. You can't just walk in." That's when the woman calmly unfolded the paper she had been holding and laid it on the reception desk. A deed, stamped, signed, showing ownership of the entire Maple Ridge corporate tower. The receptionist stared at it, mouth falling open. The security guard leaned in, then stepped back, speechless, and the intern who laughed turned white. The woman smiled again, still soft, still kind. "I'm Margaret Ellen Rhodes," she said gently. "I built this tower with my husband 40 years ago. I own every square foot of this building, and today I just came to visit my father's old office. One last time." The entire lobby fell silent. But what would happen next? Would go viral across the country. The air in the lobby had shifted. The people who had laughed seconds ago now stood frozen, their coffee cups trembling in hand. Margaret's tone remained gentle. Not angry, not bitter, just truthful. The receptionist stammered, "Ms. Rhodes, I had no idea." Margaret held up a hand. "It's all right. I imagine most of you wouldn't." She looked around the space with quiet nostalgia. "This lobby used to have carpet, red. My husband thought it looked tacky. I loved it." "That wall?" "My daughter helped paint the original mural before we rented the first floor." A few employees slowly emerged from the elevator banks, whispering. Someone finally asked, "If you own the building, why dress like that?" Margaret chuckled softly. "My husband and I came from nothing. First time we got a loan approved, we split a cheeseburger to celebrate. I never needed a suit to feel important." Then she paused, her eyes locking on the young intern who had laughed the loudest. "You know what matters more than what people wear?" He shook his head. "How they treat those they think are beneath them." The silence in that moment was louder than anything she could have shouted. Margaret turned to the receptionist. "I came to see Suite 21C because that was my father's office. He was a janitor here, back when this land was just a textile warehouse. He taught me how to mop floors and how to read real estate contracts." She smiled again. "He told me, if you ever own something big, don't forget what small feels like." That afternoon, something unexpected happened. Margaret didn't leave. She invited the building's tenants to the rooftop garden, which most employees didn't even know existed. She stood on a small stage, no microphone, and spoke to dozens of stunned professionals in ties and pencil skirts. She didn't talk about success. She talked about humility. The sun broke through the clouds as Margaret stood under the open sky, surrounded by curious tenants and red-faced staff. No security, no press, just people, finally listening. She looked over the crowd and said with quiet confidence, "For years, I stayed away. I thought letting this building grow without me was the smart thing. But today reminded me that sometimes, when you disappear from your own creation, it forgets how to recognize its roots." The crowd stayed silent, hanging on every word. Then she smiled and pulled out another folded paper. "This is a lease adjustment notice. Effective next month, every nonprofit tenant in this building will pay 0 rent, and every business that agrees to hold at least one community outreach event per year will receive a 30% discount on their lease." Gasps echoed around the rooftop. One of the senior partners from a law firm near the 18th floor raised his hand. "You're giving up money to help strangers?" Margaret turned to him, voice calm but sharp. "I'm investing in people. My father cleaned floors for 40 years and never got thanked once. Maybe if this building starts thanking the people who hold it up, it'll be worth something more than money." A hush fell again, and then applause. Slow at first, then stronger, until everyone on that rooftop, executives, assistants, security guards, interns, was clapping for the woman they had refused entry just hours earlier, not because she demanded it, but because she reminded them what legacy truly looks like. That evening, a photo of Margaret standing in her sneakers and sweater on that rooftop was shared online with the caption, "She was turned away for looking poor. Turns out she owned the sky they were standing under." The post hit 9 million views in 3 days. But Margaret? She still didn't own a smartphone. A week later, the atmosphere inside Maple Ridge Corporate Tower felt different. The front desk now greeted everyone with eye contact and warmth. Interns smiled at janitors. Top-floor executives started taking the stairs, not to save time, but to say thank you to the faces they'd never acknowledged. And tucked near the entrance where the security guard once denied her entry, a new plaque had been installed. The Margaret Rhodes lobby built with grace, remembered for humility. No ribbon cutting, no speeches. Margaret didn't even attend the ceremony. When asked why, she simply said, "The building already knows my name. Now it's time others remember my message." 3 months later, a group of school children on a field trip visited the tower for a career exposure program. Their guide paused by the plaque and said, "This tower stands here because one woman believed she didn't have to look rich to build something great." And in the crowd, a little girl in worn sneakers smiled to herself. Because sometimes, the most powerful people walk in quietly, speak softly, dress simply, but leave behind a legacy you can't help but look up to.